Good morning and welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Martin. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you back to the channel once again for another wee chat about all things Celtic. We get no other way of putting it, absolutely hammered, decimated last night by Ajax. All the optimism was there, wasn't it? Great result against Sporting Lisbon. Great result against Newcastle. Optimistic. We were high on it. We were thinking, here we go, this is perfect. Get a third trophy into that cabinet nice and early, but it didn't pan out that way. After a decent first half, we get torn to shreds. And if we can sit here and be positive about the past two games, then we need to be a wee bit reflective and look at that, look at what the manager's comments after it was, and really ask ourselves, has it just laid bare what we already knew, that we are severely lacking in options? We'll get in about that, get your comments in. But as you can see, I am joined by an absolute legend, the wisest man of all the Celtic podcasters. It is the Punk Duck Warlord, Liam Greenlaw, and I believe it's the small wee hours for you in Vancouver. So thanks for joining us, mate.
Aye, bother. It's almost 4 a.m. here. So you might hear some crazy people or people screaming in the streets. Yeah, that's why I look like I'm coming from a night out with George Best. It's 3:30 here.
I love the ambience. I love the mood lighting, mate, by moonlight on Celtic World Order podcast. Beautiful, yeah. Mate. So we'll get on about it, but how you been keeping me anyway since the last time you were on?
Good. I moved over to Phil's new podcast. We're doing the Friday Feeling now on Boys on the Bus podcast. So anyway, used to watch us on the Boise bus there. We've switched over to a new platform. Phil's driving this bus, and I look forward. Anybody wants to flip over, see me there as well. Just like I love to flip back on and on.
You'll be back in there tonight,
TWO
9 o'clock.
as well.
Right? 9 o'clock tonight.
Aye. Yeah, that's crazy. I know, I forgot about that. Hey, by the way, I've seen you popping up all over the place as well. Saw you on Celtic State of Mind. I thought you were good in that, Steve. It was good.
Thank you. Well, as I say, you've got to try and spread your wings, and doing things like this, getting guys on like yourself from our podcast is exactly what we want to do here. We want to spread the love, plenty of content out there. Go and support it, support each other. Collaboration, not competition. Anyway, let's get down to business, guys. There's plenty to unpack here, but before we do, just as always, it's a welcome back to the show. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. And if you're one of the members that offered the donation to the channel, we especially thank you as well for helping put all this together. All content will remain to be free. You know that. You don't need to pay for it. It's there for you if you want to. Just make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the bell icon. That way you'll get notified. And we're trying to reach the 2,000 for the new season. We're so close. We're just over 100 away. Help us make that happen. Hit that subscribe button. If you want to get us on X, CWO Pod 1888, TikTok, Blue Sky, Spotify, and I'm being told there's an Instagram and all now. So there you go. If you like that patter, get in there. Plenty of ways to support the channel. So anyway, let's get down to business. Liam, we could sit here and we could pick over the bones of everything that happened against Ajax last night. I think when we look at it, some of the goals were absolute crackers. Statistically, I had a look at it, and on paper, apparently Celtic were better. But the one thing that doesn't like you is your eyes, mate. It's all about the eye test here. And I think if we can give the plaudits for the past two performances, then we need to ask the questions. Do the unfashionable thing about this. So let's bring it up. There's how we kicked off the game there. Fairly standard fare. You could argue that it's as near as a strength team that we've got at this moment in time. It was really a game of two halves. I hate that cliche, but it was the first half, not the worst. The second half, well, it was a capitulation. Where did it all go wrong, Liam? I mean, it was all going brilliant, wasn't it? After Newcastle, we were on a high.
But I think you've seen a team being led by Tierney in that first part as well, and you could see that in the way the goal was set up. The other one that hit the bar and came out, and then we had one off the post. I thought he was driving a lot of it, and it looked like Tierney was out there, and that was him just finally sort of stretching his legs and starting to take control of this team. And I think we looked good. We looked half decent. When he went off, you could see it was starting to crack then. We just seemed pulled all over the place.
Yeah.
We didn't look like we had a focal point.
Very much so.
Like he was the focal point in that first half, right? And so I think what we're getting a danger of now is that he is such an exceptionally better player than every single person in our team. maybe apart from Maeda, as far as talent and raw energy and just drive and guys that can make things happen, that we're going to be looking for him to supply all the answers. And when he goes off or he's not playing, we've not got that other focal point that can take over. That's that, I talk about like the being at the hub, in the middle with all the spokes. That's what we need at Celtic. And used to be Callum McGregor, and then he fell off. I think Tierney's coming in, but we need another one. We need one or two other places where things can start, and things can get, like a interception, that sort of thing, good tackles. Right. We are. I think we're in danger of that,
And that's the thing. We don't want to be knee-jerk. We've been on here, we've been being positive about the past results of says there has been some success stories throughout the course of this pre-season so far. Inamura undoubtedly has been a right good surprise package. I agree. When you take off Tierney, I think you notice that drop-off. That's no disrespect to Inamura. I mean, he's proven that he could be a viable option, but it just once again highlights when we talk about like-for-like quality and drop-offs in that second half. Tierney's a leader. He brought energy. He continues to improve. He was almost like a secondary captain at the best points. When you remove that for the side, you bring in Inamura, you notice straight away that there's a very clear and notable drop-off in that. So that, again, is just a reminder of what we want to talk about here. It does just basically, the embarrassment shows that the work needs done. These guys can be good and they can be an option, but you still need something better and top off that. And I felt that was sort of the story of what happened here. When we looked at it, what I was a wee bit sort of confused about was the shuffling, where we had Trusty before and now he's back in with Scales and things like that. I thought at this point, obviously there's another game to play and then we'll get the league opener on the horizon. I just thought that we'd be trying to get something a wee bit more sort of settled. And I think putting in Nygren over the likes of Engels and stuff, that's pretty much what I'd expect. But again, it lays bare the options that we've got. Now, we'll get on to certain players and performances, Liam, but the big thing with Maeda, we're so short on options, we're forcing them out to the left. And it's so glaringly obvious that wing options are wafer thin at this moment in time. And I just felt that we're losing the best of Maeda by trying to force the issue with Ida and trying to get him up to speed here. I felt he was incredibly poor in his last two outings. I felt this game here, for example, he was okay. He'd probably the best these pre-season games so far, in fairness to him. But it was all from different aspects of his game that we don't want to see. Joining up, overflowing the midfield, trying to win the ball. But it's to the detriment to the potency of the strike force and the potency of Maeda, mate.
I said this last week on my own podcast, Steve-O. Yeah, I think Rodgers is playing a very dangerous game with Maeda right now. This is a guy that wants to get in the Japanese team as the striker. This is where the Japanese play him. He came on, and when he showed and he was given the opportunity to be the striker, my God, did he grab it with both hands? I mean, when do you ever see we give out so many opportunities in Celtic where you're going, this is a great opportunity for you, and people don't take it,
Yep.
And this is a guy that took it. And how do we reward him? We reward him by putting it in the wing because we want to struggle and convince ourselves that Adam Ida is a much better option than...
Well, isn't that?
I mean, put it this way, I can predict everything Ida's going to do in a game. Pretty well doing to, like you're controlling a PlayStation figure, he's going to go the same way in it. Daiser Maeda, you never know. Yep. You don't know how he's going to score. You don't know where he's going to pop up. If you look at his goal map and stuff, it doesn't all come the one style, the one way. He brings a creativity to the team that Ida does not have. I mean, everything about Maeda is charismatic, including how he plays football. Ida is nowhere near that. And that's, when you talk about having focal points in your team, guys that are going to win you games, creativity will work every time, because there's too many other guys like Ida out there that can cancel him out. There's no many guys that can go light for light with Maeda,
I mean, it's frustrating. Obviously, one of the strange things that we saw was with the options there with Kenny, obviously, we got to see a wee bit of action for him, as we normally do. Maeda is smell gloves saying there, we're simply trying to get the minutes into the legs, etc. But again, I get that we need to. He is a striker. He costs us 9 million. You want him to succeed. You want to play him. But I do feel I agree with what you're saying. we need to try and strike a balancing act, particularly with Maeda, and he needs to be rewarded appropriately to make him believe and invest and stay in. Because at this moment in time, there's nothing at this time to suggest that it's going to happen. But I cannot get on board. I cannot even imagine the situation where we're in, where a sizable offer were to come in for Maeda, the board were to take it and leave us, to put it, excuse my French, up shit creek without a paddle. Because at this moment in time, he is the best striker that we have at the club. Mm-hmm. We don't have any real sight of getting in anybody anytime soon. We had the likes of the boy Monsignor. Nothing happened to that, as we know. Christy Garden, bye-bye, that's gone. We brought in Osmond. We've not really done anything with him. And we found off that Shin Yamada was in squad. But however, he hadn't been registered, and it was a UEFA classed game. So a bit of embarrassment there. Maybe tells you where things are actually at behind the scenes at Celtic. If you can, I know it's a wee minor note, but just sets a tone, does it not? That we're getting guys in. The manager's saying it's a club signing. He's going to be with the team, and he's not even registered, mate.
That tells you the complacency might not be over yet. That the hangover for that cup final is not only leaked to the team, it's leaked through the entire building.
Yeah.
We watched a team get chucked to Champions League that we benefited for getting lazy and casual with the paperwork. And there seems to be a casualness about this team that, I don't know, there's when they do these campaigns for season tickets and all that and stuff like We're All In. Doesn't it seem that way?
Brilliant, isn't it?
Doesn't it seem that way? Doesn't it seem that way, Steve-O?
They're very good at getting the money and extracting the money. Now, that's something we want to just bring out right at the front end right now. After this, the manager, we'll get into the performances. And there were some very, very scant consolation, very small positives that we'll talk about, right? And we'll look at some of the action. But this concerns me, right? This is from over at the Celtic Way. And it was a quote directly from the manager there, when he was asked about, where do we go from here, essentially. And it depends on your ambition. If your ambition is to really progress and push forward, then we need to improve the squad. This is becoming we're getting various versions of that quote, are we not, for the manager throughout the course of this pre-season. Are you starting to, is there a wee bit of doubt in your mind starting to creep in, where it's now not becoming a plead to the board, a warning to the board? It's just, I am fed up. Because it sounds, how many times have we heard about, I'm not wanting to match the ambition of the manager to progress forward. Now, I know there's plenty of time in this transfer window, but I echo it again. Game of the weekend, the probable bounce match, opener against St Mirren, then you've got Rangers in the horizon, you've got Aberdeen in the horizon. Tough games. I think that the squad that we had yesterday is enough to take care of St Mirren. But when you start looking at them, and more importantly, start looking at Champions League qualifier, we need to get players in the building and bedded in to be ready for that game. We can't just throw it all together and hope so on hams. The manager must be tearing his hair out.
I don't know. There's 1,000 podcasts talking about this right now. And same with last summer and the window before. This is, I don't know, we just seem to go through this. This is Groundhog Day. We've got Brendan Rodgers instead of Bill Murray. It baffles me how you could just keep watching the same film again and again and again, and it doesn't get any better. And we don't get better characters, or even an interesting plotline, or even a new location, same suits, everything. Groundhog Day with this mob. And Rodgers, I'm not sure what Rodgers is playing at. I've lost a lot of respect for Rodgers over the last year. I didn't like him when he left. All right, convinced myself. All right, this is good. He's doing it. This is helping us out. It was best move since Ange sort of blindsided us as well. And now I've went completely off him again, because I think he takes us for a mug, where he's playing that sort of games in front of the camera again. And I know you can't come out and reveal your whole corporate thing and all that in front of everybody, but don't stick around then for another years if you're doing us a favour. But you're not going to keep your hands in your pockets and you're just going to. That doesn't help anybody. That it really doesn't. And if he needs to get his players in and they're not doing it, now's the time to come out and say it. You've got the fans on side. You've had them for ages. And the more you play these games and wait till after the window and then tell us, this is like a girlfriend breaking up with you, staying in the house for a year and saying you can't bring anybody else home.
You know, the thing is, the unrest comes quite simply. I can see it already in the comments where the fans, you're saying, we're brilliant at marketing, aren't we? We're brilliant at we're all in and be there for next year's success. You know, I don't need to repeat it again. 3 kits, 3 goalkeeper kits, X amount of leisure wear, X amount of training, everything's coming out, right? It's just, you know, continually churn. Now, as it stands at this moment of time, as we sit here and speak, Celtic for this period of this transfer window are sitting £20.75 million in profit. In profit. Now, what are we holding off for? What are we waiting for? We've heard over the times, Liam, but it's the type of players, the quality of players that we want don't become available till late on the window because they maybe are on the periphery of their squad or all that kind of garbage we hear. But as I say, and I repeat again, with the league all but ready to kick off, with the Champions League qualifiers that will be on top of us before you know it, with us losing a huge amount of goals, Kyogo, Nicholas Kuhn, Jota out injured, you know, the need to carry on here. Where is the options coming? Why are we not going out? Why are we not spending? And again, I'll just bring it up. The most classic one was the most recent report, of course, of Jacob Beam from Go Ahead Eagles. Interested in him, supposedly. £1.5 million, please. That's what we'll offer you. No, we want 5. I know. Are you sure about that? Here's 1.5 million. It's a recurring theme. No wonder folk are getting angry and tearing their hair out. What do we have a transfer strategy?
Aye, it's like let's offer them like just slightly less than a third. You know, I don't understand the calculations. You know, and less teams are really messing with them. But if teams are messing with them that much, why are we in for £1.5 million players? If we think that's their evaluation, do we think a £1.5 million evaluated player is what is going to come in and improve our side? I don't think so. I mean, we've got a development program of young boys that have cost more than that, not getting into the game. So to tell me that you're out there doing your work when you're offering 1.5 for a winger, where we know that we're going to be trying to compete in Champions League, we know what we see, what we're up against. I think we're in the wrong window. And yeah, this is what seems to be going. Like, it's almost like, you know, you have running a department where you've only got a budget of, listen, you make a signing over 2 million, you have to go through this series of approvals and present a pitch deck and all this sort of shit that, you know, carry on, where it's just like, all right, let's see what I can get for 1.9, you know?
I mean, this is the thing. It's so frustrating. We've brought in, let's be honest, club signings. I think potentially it'd be interesting to see where the scouting for Negrin came, because so far he's been an absolute, you know, blockbuster signing. He looks to me like the guy who's really that wee ingredient that we've been missing since we lost O'Reilly. And I'm so positive about that. You know, he would be in my starting midfield, no doubt about it, with McGregor and Hatate. That's where I would be going forward. So that's green tick for whoever got that one. Tierney takes care of itself. We can sing that. That's an elite player. That's brilliant. But then we get these, as we say, these club signings, as they're calling them. There's no doubt that Duhan was a club signing. I don't exactly imagine that Rodgers was tripping over wanting to sign him. You know, you've got Osmond. Is he a club signing? Is he a stats-based signing? Youth projections, figures, and looking at it and thinking he could be potentially. But so far, between that, Shin, and Inamura, there's nothing really that you would say to yourself, aye, that's got the fingerprints of Rodgers on it. And then we look at the sort of misses so far, where, again, I'll just throw it out there, Christegard, a player that we openly courted for about 2 seasons, we somehow just suddenly pivot where we're not interested or we're not willing to put up the money. The biggest and the most annoying, I hear you and Phil talking about it regular, is this Balikwisha deal. What's happening there? Another guy that we've openly courted for well over a season. We're in talks, we're out of talks, we're in direct discussions, the players agreed terms. Nothing. And now this latest one.
Especially now as well, where we've developed this myth, right, of like modern football that you need to have a really strong pre-season or a full pre-season to get to be your most effective. And we're missing out on all this as well. So just the ideas, you're right, we get linked to people that are in the news, but there's no very strong list of people we're linked with. I think Negrin probably came when Larsson was over, or somebody with the Swedish connections or something, because Mark Larsson came over for that TV spot in May, and he probably brought his agent or something with him as well, I guess, paid for it because it's Adidas. And so, yeah, you never know. That could have been one of these things, like, here's a boy to watch, here's a boy that's really good and is breaking into the Swedish national team. The rest of them, I mean, the two Japanese boys, no way they're Rodgers signing. No way Rodgers is watching Japanese football. He's at the Gucci shop, He's maybe watching Japanese fashion television or something like that, like something he can impress the boys with in the locker room. But yeah, it just doesn't seem to be. And it doesn't seem to be anything's coming for Rodgers. Like, there's not, like, you'd want Rodgers to come out, and if you can't identify the player direct, tell us the attributes you want and come out and say, I need a winger that's this, and this, that sets the expectations of the fans, that we'll know right away where the board are mugging us, or it's Rodgers.
Do you feel like he's dialing it in?
Oh, aye, I felt like that, yeah. For the last 6 months, he's dialed it in. He's definitely dialed it in.
I'm getting that from him. I'm getting that sense where at the very start of his time, the first season, very positive, very direct. Then he went through a wee weird phase where he kind of was a bored cheerleader a wee bit. Then there was a wee bit of kickback. Then there was a wee bit of fire. And we came almost full circle now, where he's just going through the motions. It's just words now that are coming out his mouth. And as I say, it's no longer a plead. It's no longer a shot at the board. It's just words. There's no weight behind it. If you want to, depends on how much your ambition was. It's wishy-washy. He could have been a lot more direct and on the nose with that and just say, my ambition is for this team to be improved. We need quality players and I need them in now to add to this squad. I want the board to match that. That is how direct you need to be. But he doesn't even see as if he's got that fight in him.
No, mate, I've got like 30 years of advertising experience as creative director, and I got a really strong bullshit detector. I know when somebody's not on the level or it's bullshit. When you're being mugged off and that, you see the patterns and you see certain things and you listen to the words and that, and it's just, yeah, to me, it looks like he's checked it long ago. And so a lot of us can say, yeah, I don't blame him. But no, it's like there's a certain thing, there's a responsibility you have when you're a manager of Celtic. Like, we've had a lot better managers than Rodgers, but we're in this age now that anybody with EPL experience is somehow, oh my God, the next Jock Stein. There'll never be another Jock Stein, We can see what's that. But there's plenty of other managers and stuff in Scotland that I think, could be as good as Rodgers. For everything Rodgers had in the last 6 months, yeah, I think he's really dropped off. To watch that Rangers team beat us, to watch Aberdeen beat us in a final, yeah, we deserve to get beat at stuff, but it's like, it just doesn't seem like he's. I was way more angry about it than he was. That's not right. I'm miles away. He's right in the door.
From the comments here, and we can wrap Brendan Rodgers on us. Pork Chop Express. I love some of the names. Brilliant. I love it. He said, do you think, is that defeat enough, the fashion of it? Because as is also said in the comments there, be strange enough, come the end of that game, it was essentially the youth side of Ajax that were destroying Celtic. Let's be honest about it here. Do you think, what does it take, genuinely, what does it take to turn this board's head? And I wrap in Rodgers into that. Yeah, he's saying the right things, but his lip service probably to the fans, because as to be seen to be saying the right things. And then it can always be the default that if it doesn't work out, well, I tried, I said, I pointed it out. But, what does it take? Because, again, I don't want to talk about Rangers. I don't really want to labour on it. However, whether you want to laugh at them, laugh at their manager, laugh at the new owners, or how they're getting the money in, or whatever they're doing, right, regardless of whatever the standard of those players that they've signed turn out to be, one thing you can't deny is at the earliest possible juncture, they are giving the manager what he thinks he needs. Whether he's identified these players, and I would probably say quite a lot of them are, because of where they're coming from down south, they are at least going out and tooling up their manager to the best of their ability with the resources they've got and giving him what he wants. Why, oh why, do we sit back idly and continually do this same thing? Remember when we had that Ange season where we actually used to pre-order signings?
Aye.
Forward thinking, we've regressed. That was only, 3 years ago?
Aye. And, and it was, you look at it as well as a brand as well. We knew who those signings were and we were excited about them. It created a level of energy before they even got there that we knew. It's like, in the pictures, when you're watching a Western, as soon as you hear that bugle, the cavalry's on the way. We knew the cavalry was coming. It was coming from Japan, but it's still the cavalry. And when they hit the ground running, that was John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. Two of them just fit right in. And that was the best buzz I've had for ages as a Celtic supporter. I loved that thing. You could see that Ange was building something, and then bang, two more pieces click into the puzzle, and then you could actually see an excitement. And I think that excitement channeled into the players, everything. You could see, and we had a great season. We had a brilliant season, So I think that's what we need right now. And I think he says, well, what do we do as fans? Yeah. You could protest, you could create groups, we could get on podcasts and scream our heads off and all that. But I think the one that owes us right now is Brendan Rodgers. I think Brendan Rodgers is the one that has to fix this. If he's not going to get the players, don't put your hands in your pockets and look all dejected that you didn't get what you want and, well, we'll just slug through this year. It's like, no, I think you've got responsibility to the fans. You let us down once really bad. Don't walk away again because you're not doing it. I mean, you're there to fight. Where's the fight, Brendan? Come on.
What do you think that is some of the stalling, perhaps? Is it over, well, we could say, I'm laughing when I say this, is it over the fees because we're cheaping out and offering 1.5 million for guys that are 5, right? But what I mean is there's this general idea, this maybe it's a fallacy, that Brendan Rodgers wants players that are 7, 8, 9, 10 million, whatever, right? This is the general. You see that. That's when people say quality, they always think price, and we know that those two things don't always correlate and make that the perfect result. But let's look at the spends that he has done, right? Now, again, just for balance of chat here, we're not here to crucify folk. We're not here to slaughter players or pinpoint players in particular, but we need to talk about it. The players that you would argue and say that Brendan Rodgers has really been involved in, Kasper Schmeichel, writes himself, brilliant, great success story, right? But Trusty, Engels, Ida, Bernardo, because he went out his way, he brought him in and wanted him back. Over the piece, really, how much have they done? Now, I'm not wanting to go down that route again. We'll talk about some of the performances in a couple of minutes or so, but yeah, all these guys are splitting the fan base. Not one of these Rodgers signings that are of good quality value has truly, for everybody's universe, went, what a signing. So is there an erosion of trust maybe to give Rodgers the money to do it?
If you throw Matt Phillips into that lineup as well, which was a Rodgers loan that was very expensive to bring in, That's probably that was the biggest disaster of a lot of them.
Terrible.
You know, I mean, what were you thinking? So, I mean, throw this out there. Maybe the board has also got a very strong bullshit detector. Now, I've said this in other podcasts, like, I watch a lot of hockey, and you got a lot of coaches that come into hockey that only last 3, 4, 5 years. And you see some guys that get hot over a succession of years, and they say those guys have got, like, 2-year plan, 3-year deal. Where you can only, if you're not great tactically, if you're not great creatively, and most of your coaching is down to motivational type speeches and tactics and all that, the less you change up stuff around you, the less that has of working on older players and things like that. And also players that have played with high-level managers. You see it when somebody's shouting the odds and they've done okay in the game, but you see when an absolute legend comes out, right? It's like if you've got a player that's played for, say, Alex Ferguson, and then you're playing for, I don't know, Mike, who's that? Any Rangers manager, Clements, right? Obviously, you're going to be looking at them with a healthy degree of skepticism. You're going to be looking at that bullshit, or somebody that's been there before or still there now that has heard all the same speeches and that. Maybe the board is just like, I don't know. Rodgers to me just comes across a bit salesy. And he's always telling you what you want to hear, and he leans in and does this wee thing where it's just you and him, and I'm going to let you in, and he talks about football as if we're all just figuring it out at the same time. It's like, no, mate, we watch football, we read books of football, we talk about football all the time, we get it. You're giving us as insight into your world. Oh, Jesus Christ, what's that like? It's like, come on, man. Just everything and more about Celtic,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think maybe the board are thinking, oh Christ, we might be looking at a standoff between the two of them right now. They might be fed up with each other.
Yeah, I mean, one thing's for sure: action, regardless who it comes with, needs to be taken right now. Now let's divert back and look at a wee bit of the action, because it's worth talking about, isn't it? Now, for the balance of just bringing it up, I was shocked when I seen this. You look at the stats of that game now, and this tells you exactly why statistics are by and large useless, because Roger says, well, I don't necessarily think it was a 5-1 game. That's what he said. And yeah, you could maybe argue that toss based if you look so at stats there, or if you look at the way that some of the goals went away. But I mean, I think it was a game of two halves. So let's at least talk about some of it. I felt the first half was not too bad. I felt we kind of carried on a wee bit of what we saw for the Newcastle and Sporting Lisbon games. But I felt that eventually Ajax really very quickly sussed us out, and it became sort of a bit of a procession for them. The biggest takeaways for me for that sort of first half, or in general the whole team, was that Nygren is undoubtedly the shining light so far. I thought he had a very solid performance again. He joins up play very well. He can come deep. He can advance forward. And bar that ropey second goal situation, which I think, to be fair, unfit Carter Vickers plays an absolute hospital pass to him. He's back turned to it and he loses it. I think aside from that, Nygren, once again, does himself no harm, and for me, pretty much solidifies his place in that starting midfield there. So big positive there. I think that we can look at guys like Dane Murray, we can look at guys like Inamura again. I thought decent-ish performances. Yeah, you get the drop-off with Inamura, but I felt that it's good to see Dane Murray getting more game time. I think he looks pretty damn comfortable, and he's proven he can be an option, but he should be about third, maybe fourth choice option at best. So that for me is really there. But then we come around again, mate, and we'll look at the same personnel and the same issues. And it used to be Taylor, it used to be Scales, but once again, Scales in that back line, it was just, it's the same things that come around. And this is what we're talking about, why we need the reinforcements in, because you can't depend on the same guys to produce week in, week out. They'll have brilliant wee purple patches, but see when it's rough as a bag of nails. And I think we saw that for quite a lot of the personnel last night, mate.
Aye, yeah, there's a couple of points I wouldn't mind addressing there, Steve-O. Carter Vickers looks well off it. I've seen
concerning.
Seen guys delivering refrigerators with more dexterity, just him moving about. He's bulky. That pass that we're doing for the back seems to have replaced the horseshoe. And it's really worrying because this is how Rangers picked us apart as well. We seem to get the ball at the back, and when we can't find an outlet on the wings, we tend to push it up in the middle, and the idea is that the person coming back will accelerate to get that ball and then pass it back to you from there. What we ended up happening is a lot of that time that ball's slightly off, there's no enough pace, or the defender's anticipating it, and they're getting to that ball first, just like Carter Vickers.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of our fullbacks doing that pass last night, and we were getting caught. Second point, Scales. Okay, Scales is worrying me now because somebody mentioned it in another podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about how grabby he is.
Yes.
His hands are always on players.
Sviatchenko-esque, I'd say. Sviatchenko's second move was a grab, wasn't it?
Well, this one is like, there was one point where it was really obvious when a boy took him down the wing, and I'm no kidding you, he was like, honestly, I'm surprised he didn't get the jail. It was like it was an assault, mate. Sexual assault. He's just like, Jesus, can you get away with that in the street? He was just don't let him. It was obvious. I'm surprised the ref never pulled it back. But then, okay, so you can see, I don't know if that's a lack of fitness, if it's lack of pace, if it's just getting caught. Yeah, Scales. Yeah, he has these Jekyll and Hyde games where he's either the best player in the game or the worst player. And I don't know if that's coachable, because all the stuff's there.
What's the answer for us, Blo? Because, as I say, let's bring it back into sharp focus. Game of the weekend, game in the league the week over. This Scales, Murray, CCV, Murray, Trusty, that's moving about the pieces. Not about getting minutes in the legs, but make your bloody mind up. Well, what is the solution at this moment in time?
I know. I think Trusty will probably be in the weekend. I mean, I think we need to go out there and get another player. Just bite it. I'm honestly as well, just like everybody else between the two of them. There's points I like when I see Scales on. I think, okay, that's him turned a corner. There's points where I see where Trusty, and it was like, okay, that boy just needs to harden up a wee bit, and I think he'll be fine. And then, yeah, I think we need to get our defence could be a proper shambles. The one point where we replace our weakest link, we're now letting the rest just disappear. So, I mean, I like the way Tony Ralston's played this pre-season.
He has been good. Yes.
But it really, really bothers me that Alistair Johnson will walk right back into that position after showing nothing. I watched him in the Canada Cup. And I've listened to his interviews and all that. That's a boy that's not fully focused right now. He's concentrating on Canada and the World Cup, his wedding, all that sort of stuff like that. And if he walks back into that first team ahead of Tony Ralston without any sort of,
he's got to earn it, hasn't he? He's got to earn it.
Yeah, he's got to earn it. And I don't think he has, because if he does, geez, that just signals we're back to complacency FC, where it doesn't matter what you do in the team, Rodgers is going to have his favourites.
No, that's the thing, and that really did frustrate me. It's was brought up here. I just wanted to show it, as rightly says, with that Celtic could have, Big Red says, Celtic could have been 4-1 up. We could have. That's the thing, with enough opportunity. It literally was, cliche, a game of two halves, right? But it was alarming how quickly it started to unravel. That's the problem we've got here. And to say, we can sit and be praising us against Newcastle and Sporting Lisbon, but we've got to break that down. In that first half, we looked okay. We should have been up. You've touched on the likes of CCV. Yeah, you can give him allowances because he is just back. But at the same time, it's a wee bit of concern. I would also have liked to have heard for the manager to address Carter Vickers properly, to tell us just how fit he actually is, because there was a lot of question marks. He's meant to be getting surgery, he's out or whatever. Did he need surgery? Did he not need surgery? Is he not going to need that further down the line? Because what I don't want us to do is just be getting him, chucking him into that game because we think, oh God, we don't have anybody better at this moment in time. We kind of need a half-fit Carter Vickers. This is the sort of clarity that we need around it. Scales, yeah, was what it was. But another guy I want to talk about that I thought certainly at least gave a good account of himself. Some people are saying he's only there by default because the options are absolutely drastic, is Yang. Now, I say it again, I've flipped and flopped and back and forward and whatever with Yang, but the one thing that's undeniable about him is his work rate, his effort, and at least his desire. Is he perfect? Far from it. He is absolutely not. But he scores another goal again in pre-season, and you can maybe start to understand why some teams are looking at him. I never thought I'd say this, but at this moment in time, you can't afford to lose Yang. It sounds daft. But can you imagine Celtic get out tomorrow or next week and releasing Yang when we're that desperate for wingers already? Can you imagine that?
Honestly, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. It's like we're just like holding the door open and until we're at our bare minimum. It looks like you're trying to purposely crash something. If somebody was trying to disrupt your business and let somebody corrupt in, it's like you're letting all the players go. We're not signing them. The only thing I can think is it's a big youth push that somehow we've got. And again, they never, relay this to the fans or communicate in any meaningful way whatsoever, right? That, okay, we've got an exceptional bunch of guys in the youth. Gordon Strachan's identified him. Sean Maloney's identified him. All the big guys, Darren O'Dea, will run the rule of thumb over these boys. And those results that they had in the B League and all that is an abomination. And that's not really, we don't really trust that data. We just trust all the other stuff. And we've got this really good crop of young boys that we think you need to be given a chance to. And right now, Dane Murray looks okay.
Yeah.
I
mean,
but that's it. But look at the differences you said when Ajax, whatever you want to call them, brought on the young boys at the end, the 17, 18-year-old, and they're like walloping them in for the 18-yard line and making their presence felt in the park, where our guys were just watching them thinking, oh, they'll be good. I mean, other thing as well, I thought our captain was pretty poor in pre-season. He's not really lit it up, is he?
I think maybe he hasn't lit it up, but I think a part of that is to do with the impact of Nygren. Nygren's been the guy that's been taking over that midfield and he's been driving it. That's where now we've got someone who can do that. It changes the dynamic of the midfield where now you're wanting to actually see more from Cal McGregor because you're like, right, okay, he's removed that burden from you. He's removed that going forward, taking the game with the scruff of the neck and finding the passes. He's filling that void. We've seen Hatate. Hatate, I felt, has had a decent enough pre-season. He looks good. He looks fit. He looks sharp. Yesterday, not perfect, not vintage. I think there was about a 10-minute, 15-minute period where he lost the ball maybe 4 or 5 times. Now, he scrapped and he scraped and he won it back on 1 or 2 occasions, but it wasn't vintage for him. But McGregor, yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with him. If you criticise him in any way, shape or form, folk jump all over it. Oh, you can't be doing that. And I agree. By average, he's at least a minimum of a 7 on 10 type of guy most games. But yeah, I think that his role now needs to change and we need to work that out because Nygren's doing the attacking stuff. He looks like the guy that's got the hunger and the desire. So I think that McGregor needs to work out what his role is going to be in the team because I saw more leadership qualities for Kieran Tierney when he was on the pitch than I did McGregor, which is strange.
Well, here's the thing, Steve-O, is McGregor undroppable? Because
I don't think anyone is.
I think he is. I don't think Rodgers drops McGregor for anything. Look at the amount of minutes he's already played in this pre-season. He's played probably more minutes than anybody, including goalies.
Well, that's the thing. Is anybody undroppable? And I know that this will come round to it as well because we're talking about that midfield. And we obviously go with Hatate, McGregor and Nygren, which I think that would be my preferred starting central sort of three, undoubtedly. That then brings around Arne Engels. Now, again, we have been up and down on this channel about him. I maintain I think he's a good player. I think that, I'll judge him properly come December. I want to see him push on. He had a great impact his first season, but I also felt that he was coasting. He was effective without being, like wow, mind blown. And I think he's got levels in him. But I also think that he's a player that needs to find a bit more in his game also. Now, the prime example, again, is yesterday when he comes on. I just felt that there's a lack of effort now. I know it's a friendly, but I kind of could attribute part and fault to him for goals 4 and 5 because he's the last midfielder in the block. He's the deepest sitting midfielder, and there's no urgency. He doesn't rush out to, I'm not saying throw yourself in recklessly, but he doesn't move sharp to close down the space, to get on his man, to make it difficult for them. He invites them on for the shot. So things like that, and we've said this, Nygren's basically taken his position at this moment in time. So every single minute that he gets, whether he's starting during pre-season or coming on, he needs to show something and more to sort of turn the head. But do you think that Engels and his fee, similar to what you said with Rodgers and his favourites, does that make him undroppable for Rodgers?
Well, it depends what Rodgers want. I mean, if you look at Engels and Nygren side by side, you've got what I think is a creative player that works on sparks, that works on intuition, movement, and then you've got a technical player that works on training and strategy and technique and things like that. And I think that's the difference between the two of them. And I think when you watch Celtic and their fans' expectation, I think we always want creative over technical.
Mm-hmm.
Technicals is St. Mirren, Motherwell, you play all these teams, they've got a lot of good boys that can play technical football, right? But we've always had guys that had that creative spark that could undo technical football. I think same when you sign guys like Engels as technical type players, it's always a lot more for them to develop. Whereas, players that play in creativity, there's no timeline. They're not waiting on the lift or taking the stairs. They're just zooming through time portals and stuff, That's the way I look at, creativity, the best thing you can have in football. And yeah, I think that's the difference between the two of them. I don't see that creative flair of Engels. Everything he does is just technical. And
I think at this moment in time, I always say, and again, that's how do we get the best out of these players? Is it a slight mix-up of what we do in the midfield or whatever? That's for the manager and the coaching team to work out to get the best out of him. But I genuinely feel that if you parachuted him into a European side, let's just say like an Atalanta for talking's sake, if you parachute him into that, you probably see a completely different beast in Engels, I think. And that's the thing, is he's undoubtedly got huge amounts of talents. I actually says before that I think he needs a good pre-season under him. He's had a pre-season under him, but I don't think at any point I've actually been good in these games. He's just coasted through the pre-season. I've not saw that level up that I was expecting from him. And same with Ida as well. He needs a full pre-season, but in every game that he has come on, I've still not seen any improvement from where he was last season. The difference between Ida and Engels is Engels has been able to produce and has some really good performances. Ida's been kind of a bit lukewarm and up and down. So I don't think it'll be harder for Engels to push on into next season with actual real game time. But Ida, on the flip of that, I was looking for something for this pre-season, the benefits of this pre-season for Adam Ida, and I'm still not seeing it.
Yeah, it's nothing worse, nothing more I hate than those people that fall up all the time. Adam Ida, it's just like the worse he's get, the more game time he gets. And I know we're trying to play him into and all that, but none of that stuff's merited. It's supposed to be out there fighting for places. And then we've got these two that are Rodgers signings that are walking into the team. If I'm sure, was it Sean McCardle came on?
Yeah, we're getting some youth in about it, which is good to see.
I mean, Engels' youth as well. And how are they boys not getting a chance? And I saw more in that 10-minute cameo that said, okay, this guy's no bad wee player. This guy could be something. And what, and so I looked and seen what he was like with the B team, and it looks like, yeah, he's quite promising. Yeah, he's not seeming to get a chance, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's economics. It's footballonomics. It's like we've invested heavily in these players, and so there's right now Rodgers has to prove to the board before maybe he gets any money that these players have to come good. That before he spends another 9 million or 10 million, that he's not being misguided again or buying players that doesn't suit. That's what it could be. And again, I'm not agreeing with that. But
no, I mean that's came up again in the comments. The question's been asked: do they think that the performance levels or the output of these guys is discouraging the board? Quite possibly. I would say that quite possibly. But let's look at some of the goals, right? I mean, the first one is what it is. I think the second one we discussed it. It's one of the few things that Nygren gets wrong. It's a terrible pass for Carter Vickers. And I think, in fairness to Kasper Schmeichel, it's hitting the ground. There's not really much you can do. Now, there's been question marks over some of the other goals. They're very good goals, right? But a lot of questions, a lot of comments coming up around about Kasper. Now, we spoke in the podcast, myself, Paddy and Joe, around about the goalkeeper moving forward. This is the last season of Kasper Schmeichel. Sinisalo's looked to prove himself as being a fairly, able deputy. And I think that we need to start rotating. We need to start drip feeding him in, getting him ready for more game time. How much are you attributing any fault for the goals for Kasper Schmeichel in that game, mate?
No, it does. I think they were on that same side as well, with the shoulder that he was favouring against Aberdeen. That concerns me.
But does that become an instant concern around him? You just said the word concern. It's simple. It's simple, wasn't it? You fire it high in that corner every time, and you're instantly reducing his chances percentage-wise of saving.
Mate, you and I both know you've probably had shoulder surgery. I tore out a rotator cuff and all that, and it took 3 years for it to heal properly. Couldn't even sleep right in that. And if he's had a really, really bad injury to his shoulder, that's the worst thing a goalkeeper can get, because you don't have that wingspan. And that's what I was seeing. Whereas Schmeichel's always been one of these goalkeepers that not as technically good and all that, but I thought what made him dominant in his area was the way he could snap that arm out really quickly to block shots, and also strong enough so that it could take the impact of a ball or that whatever for close range. Yeah, I think we're just assuming that Schmeichel's going to be exactly like Joe Hart, where he's going to bow out the exact same way. And I don't think Hart didn't have an injury that he was coming off of, and we didn't have a backup to replace Joe Hart. So him playing every game and using that as his swan song, well, I think that was just, a brilliant move, at that point in time. And I don't think we should just think the two players are similar. I think for Schmeichel, let's see what he's like if the goals are all going in that one side, and it's something that you could look at and see if he's favouring that, and it's going to be noticed. I mean, we live in the land of data now, so every striking coach, every forward's going to be known to go for that side, And
I think that could be something in terms of where Kasper Schmeichel goes, how his season pans out. Could be something quite as simple, and that's maybe the one time where folk will say the data might do us a favour, because if he were to concede goals and it's continually in the same area and the same, then that instantly gives the manager, it almost forces the hand to bring in Sinisalo. Now, folk are asking, do we think it's a good idea doing what we've done with the likes of Hart, doing what we've done with Schmeichel, signing guys that you're only getting 2 or 3 years out of? I'm not against it, because it only becomes an issue if they do pick up, like we're talking about here, an injury similar to what's happened with Kasper Schmeichel. I think it's these running bills, particularly in the goalkeeper position, is a good thing. However, we shouldn't really be needing to do it, because I think that Sinisalo looks like he's got all the attributes to be, by large, the number one next season. I would be certainly a lot more comfortable with it. I think he's getting better every time he goes on. I think he looks a lot more assured now with the ball at his foot. And certainly one of the things that Schmeichel's been hindered by is undoubtedly the injury and the way the goals are getting to him. but also his distributions went a bit ski-whiff lately, if we're being completely honest there. So big questions over the goalkeeping position moving forward, I would say 100%. I mean, where are you at with the rotating the goalkeepers with Sinisalo? Would you like to see him getting maybe, like I say, suggesting maybe like 1 game in 4 next season, or even a wee bit more?
I honestly let him play it out. I think if he's good enough, start playing him now. I mean, you're seeing him in training. Let's see him in a big game. I mean, because we start the league next week, you know. But I think Rodgers missed a trick last year, rushing Schmeichel back. Whereas, like, we could have seen Sinisalo. I thought he was playing great, and we could have kept him in. Yeah, let's see how it goes. I think it depends on Schmeichel how many games he'll get. If he looks like he's struggling, we're going to have to do something, even as a stop. You know, however it looks, this is going to be one of the big difficult decisions Rodgers is going to have to make. It's like, do you let him build his confidence up, or does it look like he's being held back by that last injury as a 38-year-old? You know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is there's so many questions. I think that result last night, it's not knee jerk, as I says, but I think it's laid bare a lot of these deficiencies that are in that squad, mate. It's undoubtedly something that we need to work out, and we need to work it out fast. Shin Yamada, they're saying that hopefully he will be registered, so that the game against is El Hali or whatever the hell they're called. I don't know. It's one of the Saudi Arabian teams that we're playing. I don't know how good they are going to be, but as some folk are saying, knowing the way that Celtic play, we'll probably end up getting out and rolling them over 5-1. And that's the problem, isn't it? Because it would paper over some cracks, mate.
You don't know that for sure, Steve. These guys might be ballers.
I'm sure they will, mate. If the money that's in that Saudi Arabian football league is unbelievable. I'm sure they're going to have some scorching players in their team. I don't know enough about them. I'm not going to sit here and profess to say that I do, but I'll be interested to see this one, because an Ajax youth team picked us apart in the second half, mate. That they're going to be up there, at least to that standard.
I think that's one of the things that plays well against Celtic, is coming on with absolutely no fear and attacking Celtic. Our team looks completely, when a team starts attacking us, which they figured out in the second half, they go, wait a minute, they play in a league in Scotland where they've got the ball all the time. And then when you start attacking us, Ingles, Tate, all the boys disappear, because they don't, we're doing that thing where we're pushing the ball out the back, and they're hard pressing us hard. And that's how Rangers beat us last year. They attacked us through the midfield. When we were trying to get the ball out, they were running towards us, not running back with us. And as soon as you give up any of that respect against the Celtic team, we crumble. Now, we didn't crumble with Tierney on the pitch, because he's made of solid stuff. And I think that's infectious, and that helps guide the team through him, Callum, and that, Tony Ralston, his identity. When you remove that, we seem a bit soft. And when we get overrun and being soft, then we start.
Oh, mate.
Goal,
Dougie Sharp informs us of the ability of Al Ali. Ivan Toney and Firmino. Wow. And St. Maximum. Oh, so yeah, we are going to have to be on top of it to get a result, I think, in that game there.
Ivan Toney.
Yes.
Ivan Toney. That's the one we were after for ages, huh?
Remember that? Yes, that would have been a good sign, wouldn't it? I mean, obviously, there could have been great shame brought on the side with his gambling incident, but we maybe dodged that. But he could be one. He could be one that comes back to haunt us.
You can bet on him to score.
Oh, he can bet. He can't.
I know.
No, listen. It's pre-season. I'm looking forward to seeing the game against Al Ahly. I don't know. Regardless, I'm just happy to have football back in our lives. But my concerns, I just want to reiterate as we close up. My concerns are still growing. I've tried my best. I've went through periods where I've been fully raging and I've been coming on here and venting. Then I've taken a wee bit of stock and went, well, the results are good. It's not hiding anything. It's not saying that we don't need anything. We clearly do. But then you get a result like yesterday. It's a right kick up the backside, and particularly when it's done by a second string in youth, and it just shows that we're setting up right off. Mahrez as well, come on, yous are killing me now. This is getting worse. This is getting worse. But no, I think in close, and I know you'll be on tonight, 9:00 with Phil.
Yep.
Voice in the bus. I'm sure you'll cover some of these talking points here. But for you, mate, what are your expectations? What are your desires? What are you looking for within the next week? And it really is within the next week, because yes, I think we've got enough in the tank to look at the game against St Mirren, but some of those games in between now and the Champions League qualifier, those are hard games, potentially banana skins, mate. And it would be absolute negligence of us not to try and add at least one or two players between now and at least the week before the second league match.
One person can change all of this, and that's Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers comes out this week. Just tell us what your intentions are. Clarify your intent. Just show us, okay, what are you back here for? If you're just going to go through another year, hands in the pockets, and it's like, oh, well, I did my best. You've not done your best. So I'd like to see him just come out this week and say, okay, are we getting players in? Are we no? What's the plan? Communicate with us. And if you need allies, then the Celtic support will be with you to put pressure on this board to deliver your plan. But if you've not got a plan and you don't know whether you're staying or not, and the board's not getting behind you for that, then you need chased. You need to look at yourself and say, what are you doing here? This is like a very important year. Every year's important for Celtic. People, and I'm here in Canada, but people put their hard-earned money into this club. And for a lot of people, it's everything for them. And guys like yourself and Phil and Martin and Reagan and all these guys, friends that I've met, in the podcast world that go to the games, and the amount of money they put into the club and all that. Stop treating the club like mugs. This is a brand that you're trying to push worldwide. And yeah, I think this bullshit needs to stop. So, Rodgers, you're the one that can end this. You're the one that gets paid really well. You're the one, come on, you owe us something. So come out and say the intentions and let us deal with that as responsible adults and figure out, okay, well, what we're paying into. Because if you're just telling us a load of lies to get seasons money and shirt sales and raise your profile with Adidas and the best support in the world and all that sort of stuff, but you're, not getting anything back to us, that's brutal. And people will change how they see what they're going to invest in the club. Mm-hmm. But you can't have it both ways. So Roger, shows what you've invested in the club. Kieran Tierney's came back to this club at a loss of his salary. And he must be looking at that and thinking, wait a minute, I had offers for Juventus and teams in Spain and all that, where I could be making 80,000 more a week than what I'm getting now, or 60,000, or whatever it is. And you're seeing the board delaying the contract to a winger because they've got an 80,000 discrepancy in value. That's got to be nipped in the bud.
Added value, mate.
Yeah.
That's the term, added value. And I agree in that sentiment to close off, mate. I think there's a responsibility on the custodians of the club to reinvest. I will repeat again before we go, £20.75 million in profit at this time of discussion for this transfer window period. Need I say any more? Unacceptable. The money keeps flooding in. They are continually going to be pumping out some more merchandise. They are continually wanting your season ticket money. They have removed added value. You were having to pay for friendlies. You'll have to pay for that qualifier. Yeah, we need to back the manager. And if the manager feels that he isn't getting backed, fans will be more on side if he comes out and goes on the attack than sitting and just giving lip service. That's where I'm at with that one, mate. And hopefully we see that soon. We see some movement, whether it is Balikwisha, whether it is Jacob Broom, whoever it may well be, get those guys in, because it's unacceptable for us to have limited options forcing our best striker back out in the wing because we don't have options. We've got an injury there, and God, we're even playing guys like Tillio who have agreed a move is getting time on the pitch. That should tell you the state of affairs. That is unacceptable.
I'm surprised we never saw Anton Rodgers make an appearance.
He could always bring him in for a laugh, isn't it? It's pre-season, nobody cares, get him in there. But anyway, listen, mate, thank you very much for joining me so late on in the wee hours. Thank you to everybody that's been sitting watching. There's over 100 strong for the most of that, so thank you very much. Whatever you're doing your afternoon, there's some good content on elsewhere. Flick over, get more Celtic in your life, and of course, 9 o'clock, the boys on the bus is going to be the Punk Dog Warlord, Liam Greenlaw with the ever-present Phil. So, any other guests tonight, or is it just the two of you boys?
I don't know. I'll have to check with Phil, but come on later. You'll hear all my mad takes once I've woken up and had a few coffees.
Well, wait, this is us maybe just sort of, grease the wheels a wee bit for you, mate. Got you simmering on some things. So I look forward to hearing it later tonight. So anyway, thanks to everybody. Hit the subscribe button, as I say, cost you nothing. Support the channel. Help us get to that 2,000 for the new season. Take care of yourselves, guys, and as always, hail, hail. Thanks again, Liam.